Okay guys, this is it. This is it, my full round review from my recent game of golf at Augusta National. In this video, I'm going to give you a full breakdown of the entire experience. Just what it was like when you get on the property, what it's like in the clubhouse, what other things you get to do on site, and of course, the round of golf. I'm going to tell you my full score, hole by hole. I'm going to tell you which holes I found hard, which ones I found easy. There weren't many of them. Tell you exactly how I found the greens, and I'm going to answer some of your questions you sent in on my Twitter and my Instagram, letting you guys know what it's really like to play a round of golf at Augusta National. So let's start first of all. Some of you will have seen in a recent video, I did a vlog. I was out of the Masters. I was there with Mercedes-Benz. We went in every single day, the par 3 contest, all 4 tournament days. I've done a whole vlog of what that whole experience was like, already up on the channel. So if you haven't seen that, go ahead and check that out as well. So, first of all rounds at Augusta National are by invitation from the club. So, one of the nights when we were back in our house, there was a special envelope waiting for myself and Rick, inviting us for our tea time on the Monday at 10 a.m. To get to play Augusta National is amazing enough, but to get to play it the day after the Masters, when the greens are just as quick and slick, and by the way, to Sunday pins, is just something truly incredible. So we didn't sleep much that night. Woke up very, very early, headed over to the golf course. We got to drive up Magnolia Lane where you ask for your invitation and some photo ID. We go into the venue, and of course, I'm not allowed to film on property at Augusta National. I was allowed to take some pictures, but there's no video footage whatsoever. So I'm going to do my best to recollect this round for you, but I'm going to use a bit of a visual representation that we're going to come up with, myself and Craig, to show you all my shots and just how I plotted my way around that golf course. So here's the plan. This is going to be a lot of fun. Shout out to the guys at EA Sports who sent me the copy of the brand new Road to the Masters game, which has Augusta National in it. Now I've gone and created my own character, got my tailor-made clubs, got my Adidas gear, and we're ready for the first tee. Hopefully this will help just bring the whole thing to life a little bit more, as we're going to use my character to show you some of the holes and some of the most important shots from my round. Before we get into this, what would you guys shoot? What would you shoot around Augusta National? I'm about to tell you, we played off the members' tees. Now, the Masters tees are 7,545 yards long. This is the little scorecard you get when you play, and I'm very happy to tell you that the members tees were a little bit shorter, 6,365 yards long. So much shorter, but still not tiny as a golf course. So we got checked in. We go in straight away into the trophy room where you see the official huge Masters trophy, which is incredible. Then go up the stairs, and there's a little area you sit down and have some food. Breakfast was being served. Right next to the champions locker room, where you're allowed to walk around and you see all the champions lockers, all the little name tags on, incredible Masters paraphernalia everywhere. They had Scotty Scheffler's green jacket hung up, just amazing stuff. And all of a sudden you're hit with the sheer enormity of the place, the majesty of it. It's just, it starts to get you feeling like, just like a child on Christmas Day times 100. It was just absolutely incredible. Myself and Rick didn't spend long having food. We were very, very nervous. We wanted to get out and hit some balls. So our buggy took us down to the practice round where there was a glorious range laid out, all perfect golf balls hitting to just beautifully manicured greens, like golf course worthy greens on the driving range, bunkers, there was a short game area, and then of course we could go over and use the putting green itself, the famous putting green you see all the big names warming up on before their round. We were introduced to our playing partners, Jared and Michael, and we got off on the first hole. So, the first hole, known as T Olive, that famous bunker on the right-hand side, and everyone says how at Augusta, you can't quite see the elevation. You go down an enormous hill before you come back up. It's a par 4, under 400 yards for the members' tees, but playing a little bit longer, and I was feeling very, very nervous. I'm not going to tell you about Rick's shots here, because he's going to be filming his own video talking about his round. However, I will tell you, he absolutely piped one down the first. And I was like, oh God, here we go. Right, better step up here, Sebby. Thankfully, I didn't say I'd pipe one. I got it slightly off the hill, but a bit of a twist face special. It was in the fairway, just level with the bunker. Now, from there, I could sort of see the flag, but I could not see the green. Honestly, the hill is incredible. It doesn't do it justice on TV. The pins, as I said before, they were Sunday pins, so I sort of knew where they were from history. Thankfully, my caddy John had me covered, and that was going to be a very important relationship for this round. I'll come on to more about that later, but these greens are like nothing you've ever played on before, and I will talk about that shortly in a minute. Anyway, I had around about 180 yards in. I selected a 5-iron, and I didn't put the best swing on it. I pulled it left and into the bunker. Now, the bunkers are phenomenal. They are this crystallized type sand, which just feels incredible. It feels very, very compact, which actually surprised me. It feels quite firm walking in the bunkers. And I was thinking, oh, this is a bit strange. But then once you put a club through it, it just dissipates gloriously. It's like hitting through a cloud or a pillow. It's unbelievable. Just it feels so different under your foot, unlike any bunker I've ever hit it out of before. I got it out of the bunker, onto the green. The pin was towards the back on the right, and I was really nervous about flying it long down the slope, so I didn't quite get it all the way back to the pin. I left myself about, I'd say, 35 foot for par. Now, everyone tells you about the speed of the greens at Augusta. I was very nervous about hitting it too fast, right? And I didn't do that. I barely got it halfway to the hole. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. It was an uphill putt. It's, you know, I've played in some sort of pressurized events, competitive things, and I've won some club championships. I have played the Trilby Tour under Sky Sports cameras. Nothing prepared me for how I felt on Augusta. It's the course I've wanted to play my entire life. It's the course that most people never get to even visit, let alone play. I had a different level of anxiety over me that was unlike anything I've ever... I'm going to be honest about it. I was incredibly uncomfortable in the most beautiful way, but I was uncomfortable. And I just didn't hit a good putt. I left it about 10 foot short. 10 foot short, and now I've got a 10 foot putt on the first hole to make bogey. And I missed it. It didn't go in. It just got to the cusp of the hole. It didn't quite drop. All of a sudden, I've made a double bogey on the first. The second hole, pink Dogwood. You know this one, big sloping par 5 round the corner. I've dreamt about hitting this one my whole life. Being a drawer of the golf ball, it suits my eye well. I was determined to bounce back for the double bogey, and I ripped it. Beautiful draw, right the way around the corner, hitting that downslope, running down, left myself about 220 yards in to a flag below me with a pin tucked right on the right-hand side. As a drawer of the golf ball, my caddy John said to me, can you draw your 3-wood? I said, absolutely. He said, right, aim at the bunker and draw it to the left. If it gets on the green, great. If it stays up short, no problem. Just don't leave it right. I said, all right, no problem. I can turn this thing over. And I didn't turn it over, guys. I pushed it out to the right. It landed just short of the bunker, but it got sort of held up on the hill a little bit. Fairways at Augusta, they grow back towards the tee, so you don't often get that run down the fairway, and I didn't get there. I had 40 yards into the flag. This was something I just could not quite adjust to. John knows the golf course beautifully, brilliantly. 40 yards, his calculation, it was playing about 70 yards. It was uphill, you're sort of down below the green, and it was pretty cold. Now, John's never seen me play. I know my yardages based on England because it's cold anyway. And there, his cold was still probably about 15 degrees centigrade at this point. So a bit of a miscommunication. I hit a really nice shot with my 50 degree, punched it on, going right towards the flag, and just went long. And now I'm behind the green on the downslope to a pin at the bottom of the massive, massive slope. I was basically dead. I tried to chip it to just get on the green. It got held up, stayed on top, and now I was in real trouble. I now had my par putt from the back of the green. Now this is where John came in invaluably. I'm standing here, the pin's down here. He's told me to aim over to the right, completely away from the hole. I never in a million years would have aimed over there. It was an unbelievable read. I tapped it down, landed to about a foot, and it was a tap in, sadly a bogey, and all of a sudden I'm 3 over through 2 holes. Third hole, flowering peach, shortish par 4 up the hill, bunkers on the left. He gave me the driver, I hit the driver, I hit it great. Right up towards the bunkers, left myself about 115 yards into a front left pin. Now, I was worried about not having enough club. I thought I could aim out to the right. John's advice was, no, don't go long. But although there's more green there, the putt from the back of the right green towards the front left pin is absolutely treacherous. You don't want that. He said, just be aggressive, stand up and hit a shot with a club less. So I picked up the wedge, up the hill, and I pulled it. It came up just short, just landed on top and rolled all the way back down the bank, and I'm now in real trouble. We had a bit of discussion. I actually elected to hit a 7-iron, a punch and run into the slope, rolled it up onto the green, and it just stopped on the green. It nearly evaporated down the hill towards the flag, but it didn't, which meant I had another really tricky par putt. So I've now got this putt for par, and once again, John was invaluable. He comes in and tells me again to putt, just like on the last hole, basically away from the flag, to putt this way. Really uncomfortable on the greens. You just can't see the lines whatsoever. And I played it out to the right, and it goes off, and it falls down, and it's so quick. It's speeding up, and it just stopped by the cup. Left me about 3 foot, which I tapped in, but sadly for another bogey. Now, some of you would have heard me talk about before in the vlog. My goal was to try and break 80. I'm a 3 handicap. I wanted to try and break 80. I wanted to try and make 1 birdie. I wanted to try and get on 1 par 5 in 2, and they were my goals. Now, all of a sudden, I'm 4 over through 3. So breaking 80 was starting to become a real concern already, and I haven't really played that badly. Fourth hole. Now this is one I was really concerned about. Anyone that watches my channel knows my weakness is the long iron play, and this is just a long iron shot. It's a treacherous par 3 with the pin tucked right behind the bunker and the green going back to front, so you're in real trouble. You've got to step up and hit a shot. It was playing about 185 yards and I hit a 4 iron really nicely, straight at the flag, all over it. I'm thinking, I've done it, and bang! Into the very last millimetre of the bunker and rolls down into the bottom to a front pin with a downslope. Treacherous. I hit a lovely clip chip up. It just hits the top of the bunker again and comes right back down to my feet. I'm now starting to panic. Once again, I open up the blade, I get a really good shot on it, putting a bit more on it, and it rolls up, leaves myself about 6 foot for bogey, and I miss it. All of a sudden, I'm now making another double bogey, and I'm currently 6 over par through 4 holes. I don't know how it's happened. It's come out of nowhere. It's come at me fast. I don't feel like I've hit that bad a shot, and I'm almost screwed. At this point, trying to make a birdie, I was desperate to make a par. And the good news was, I had one of the hardest holes on the golf course to come. Called Magnolia, historically a very difficult one, very small landing area with a big bunker on the left. I was a little cautious. There's not many places on the golf course where you can actually lose a golf ball other than the water hazards. I really wanted to just rip one down there, and sadly I pulled this tee shot, level with the bunker but left of it. I was worried I might not find it, but I did find it. However, all I could do was like an 8 iron back into play over the trees to leave myself about 120 yards in to a very treacherous green with multiple layers and sort of different tiers. I hit a really nice wedge in, landed about 15 feet to the right of the flag on the perfect level. Could I make a par? Could I get my first par? No, I couldn't. It missed only just, and it's another bogey. The 6th hole, Juniper, another very tough par 3. If you guys know the Masters, the Sunday pin is on the top level right at the right. It's an enormous green, there's this tiny little shelf in it. If you miss it, it comes all the way back down to the left. If you miss it long, it's real trouble. Again, really not my strong suit. But you know what? Playing about 175 yards, I hit 5 iron really, really nicely. Landed up by the pin, trickled off to the left, but thankfully stayed on the top of the levels. There's one level here, there's a level here, then there's all the way down the bottom here. It stayed up on there, but I had a quite treacherous up and breaking left to right putt, and I absolutely made a hash of it. I didn't even get it up onto the next level, but I pushed it to the right a bit, it hit the lip, and it just went all the way back down to the bottom of the green. I probably now had a putt 3 times my original length that was easily 3 puttable itself, and I already had 1 putt. I bet you can guess what happens next, don't you? I'll whack it as hard as I can up the hill, desperate for it not to come all the way back down. And it didn't, but it stayed right on the top. And I had a putt to avoid 4 putting and avoid another double bogey. And guess what? I missed it. Didn't go in. It was close, but just did not feel comfortable on the greens. It's the sort of golf course you have to keep playing, and all of a sudden I've made another double bogey after hitting a really decent tee shot. 7th hole, Pampas. Short, very tight par 4. Bunkers completely surrounding the putting surface, and a big sloping green, meaning your approach shot here is absolutely crucial. Sadly, I pulled another driver just off the fairway, just into the pine straw, left me quite a tricky lie with some overhanging branches. I managed to get a decent 9-iron on it, went up towards the green, hit the bank and rolled down, stayed on the upslope. I hit a pretty nice chip up the hill, landed about 5.5 feet, coming down the hill to save par, and I thought, this is it, I can make this one, 5.5 feet. I hit a really nice putt and it just lipped out. What have I got to do to make a par? Another bogey, but the good news was we're coming up to the 2nd par 5, the 8th, so this was a chance. This was one of the par 5s. Not being the longest player, I knew if I could just get it in the fairway, set it up for a shorter approach, these treacherous greens would be a lot easier for me if I could just hit in a shorter club into them. So there's that bunker on the right, hit a decent drive trying to turn it off that bunker, and it just didn't come back. Good solid drive in the right bunker, but sitting up quite nicely. I managed to get a hybrid out of that bunker, advance it as much as I can up and over the hill, left myself 145 yards into the green. Now, I hit a really nice approach shot in here. Finally, not only a good iron shot, but one that's rewarded, landed about 15 feet from the hole, and all of a sudden had a chance for not only my first par, but potentially a birdie. I put a really nice roll on it. It trickled towards the hole and it just went past, and it kept going. It rolled out about 3 foot away. Now this 3 foot putt I was so nervous over because my birdie chance is gone, but now all of a sudden I'm struggling for my first par. Thankfully though, I stepped up, rattled it into the back of the cup. My first par of the round, it was an absolute sigh of relief. I put so much pressure on this round. I was so desperate to score well, and it seemed to be getting away from me. My expectations had changed completely. I just wanted to make a par and try and build from it. So finally we'd done that, and now it was time to kick on. The 9th hole, Carolina Cherry. A nice par 4 down the hill that if you get a really good drive, you can get it right down the hill, right down the bottom, have a shorter approach. Although the green is right on top of a hill and it's really well protected. We've seen some horrific stories there. People hit onto the green, it spins all the way back down the hill. I did not want that to happen. Thankfully, another absolutely piped drive, my best of the day. It flew over the hill, hit the downslope, rolled all the way to the very bottom, leaving me 120 yards in. Now, I knew how treacherous this approach shot was. I didn't want to come up short. I didn't want to go in those left bunkers. And I did the opposite. I basically just fanned it out to the right a little bit. Pin high, but it stayed up on the top level. And I made a really nice up and down from that right side down towards a really, really tricky pin position for a nice, comfortable tap-in par. 2 pars in a row. Here we go. I'm 10 over par through the opening 9, and I'm a little bit devastated by that. Now, normally, I really struggle to enjoy a round of golf when I play badly. I can't help it, it's just what I am. I'm just like to play well, and it can get me down if I don't play well. This is the only time I wasn't scoring very well, and I still had an enormous smile on my face. I'd let go of the pressure of the score. I'd now decided all I want to do is to give myself some amazing memories. I wanted to try and hit good shots on those iconic holes. We are now getting closer to Amen Corner, which is 11, 12 and 13. Those iconic holes. Could I shoot a decent score? Could I make some more pars? Maybe even a birdie through that iconic stretch of golf. What would I shoot through Amen Corner? These were all now going through my head. I wanted to adjust to the trying to break 80, and now I wanted to focus on, trying to break 90 and hitting some great shots on those big holes to give myself some big memories. And we got off to a flyer on the 10th hole. Big looping draw down the hill. Draw is needed to get around that bend. A big drive down there, rolling all the way down the hill. I was absolutely flying with this. I left myself 180 yards in. Now, John and I had to have another discussion here. I had 6-iron in my hand. The pin was at the back, my theory being I did not want to risk going long, because if you go long, you're absolutely dead. However, it was uphill, and it was still quite cold. Now, I think that's where there was a bit of a lost in translation here, because for me, I was playing my normal yardages for my UK temperature. I think John was thinking it's cold, I needed more. He convinced me to hit 4-iron. I absolutely flushed it. Again, something normally I'm struggling with. These long approaches are normally a nightmare for me, but I absolutely ripped it all over the flag. It even pitched right by the flag stick, but the problem is it didn't stop. It bounced on, it rolled over the back, all the way down and into the trees. I was absolutely dead. I could punch one up the hill, got it just to the top of the hill on the green, nestled one down to the hole and tapped in for another bogey. The 11th hole and the opening hole of Amen Corner, a big, long, downhill par 4, iconic. Water in front of the green. Worrying for me that it's one of the few places on the course you cannot go left. As a draw of the golf ball, I thought I might end up nudging this one out to the right. They have made some changes there in recent years. There was a little bit more room to the right, but I shouldn't have worried because I, once again, absolutely piped my driver straight down there, left myself only 140 yards into the green, to the pin that was tucked behind the water, so all the green, all the space was to the right of it. As a draw of the ball, I've got to be honest, it got in my head. I was worried about going in that water. I thought I'd just aim this out to the right and try and draw it back towards the hole. But I basically just came up and out of it and ended up pushing it out to the right and missed the green to the right. And I now had a really tricky shot from down in a valley, up and down the green towards the back pin with water right behind it. I decided to putt it and I hit it way too hard. It went up the hill on the green, raced towards the flag. It went past the flag and it was heading towards the water. Thankfully, it just held up on the bank and it didn't go in the water. I managed to clip one up reasonably close to the hole to about 5 foot and made a really nice putt, but another bogey. And I still feel like I'm hitting good shots. That is what this place can do to you. You can hit good shots, but if you hit it into the wrong position, it punishes you so severely. My analysis of the round so far is that it is not as difficult a golf course as it plays. It is fairly open. There are opportunities. If you hit the right parts of the green, it moves its way towards the hole. If you get comfortable on the greens, they're makeable putts. But if you don't do any of those things and you're not comfortable on the greens, I can't explain to you what it feels like on the greens. Like, you know it's fast, but how fast is it? Am I going to leave myself short? Am I going too soft here? Do I be aggressive? Well, there's this problem. It basically just infected my mind. I just could not get comfortable on the greens, and I couldn't make some of these putts for par that normally I've made and saved myself a little bit, to be honest. So we're in big trouble. The score is going up and up and up, but more iconic holes to come. The 12th, Golden Bell, probably the most famous par 3 in the world. And I was desperate to hit a good golf shot on this hole. It was playing about 150 yards, but this is where the wind swirls. Sometimes you feel like it's behind you, it's really into, and vice versa. It's one where they say the famous iconic players, they look at the flags on 10 and on 14 or some of the other holes around it to try and get a bit of a read as to exactly which way it is. We selected 7-iron. I shanked it. A cold, hard shank on probably the tee shot I was most looking forward to hit in my entire life. A cold, hard shank. The only good news, obviously there's Rays Creek in front of the green, is it was such a shank that it didn't even get to the water. It didn't even get to the water, and I was left with that horrible, treacherous chip from a downslope over water to a tiny sliver of green, the one that the pros have to do if they have to drop, basically, and it was about 50 yards. Nightmare situation, and you know what? I hit a really good shot. A really good shot. I had to really adjust my weight along with the slope. The slopes will never do it justice. It's so steep downhill. 50 degree, clipped it up, landed right by the hole, just trickled past it and stayed on the top of the bank at the back of the green. Had about 15 foot for a par. You guessed it. I missed it. Another bogey, but you know what? Okay, it's a shank, right? So you can't expect to make a birdie or a par when you make a shank, but it didn't go in the water. I've still got the same golf ball I've played the entire round of golf with so far. I'm a million over par, but okay, there's a shank. That's a terrible golf shot, obviously. That weak right one is in me, and for whatever reason, all I can say that I can put it down to is I felt the wind pick up in the middle of my backswing, and instead of stopping, I just quickly lunged it. Like, obviously, a little bit of that anxiety over that amazing shot. I wish I'd stepped back, because now, forever, that is my memory of the 12th hole. It was a bogey though, could have been a lot worse, believe me, could have been a lot worse. 13, I'm 2 over through the first 2 holes of Amen Corner. I'm now desperate to do something well on 13. Probably the most famous par 5 in the world, the par 5 I've most looked forward to playing. In my office, I've got a picture of this hole from the first time I went to the Masters back in 2003. A big dogleg round to the left, and now I'm just letting loose. I ripped a big draw. There's Rays Creek on the left. I could lose a ball. I didn't care. I just whipped it straight at the corner. Little baby draw, and around it went. Left me about 225 yards into the green. Could this be the moment? Forget the score. The score's almost done. The goal now is to break 90. Could I do that? But the bigger question on this hole, could I get a birdie? Can I squeeze a birdie out of this round? Could I squeeze a green in 2 on a par 5 in this round? And I was going for it. The wind was into. John tried to talk me out of it. He said, I'm not sure you can get there. He was probably right, but at this point, I was just determined to try it. So 3-wood it was. High, up, and drawing it went. Towards the hole, towards Rays Creek, and short of it. Short of it. I got it right up in the air, popped it up off that big upslope. The ball's well above my feet. It landed short, and thankfully not in the water, so I had a chance for the birdie still. Hit a really nice wedge on, left myself about 10, 12 feet for birdie. This was it. 10 or 12 feet for birdie. Could I make the putt? It felt like slightly off the right-hand side putt to me, and it just stayed out there. It just stayed out there. It did not drop, and no birdie. It felt like an opportunity had gone, but it was a tap-in par on an iconic hole and a memory I'll never ever forget. 14, Chinese Fir. A fairly straightaway par 4, but a very, very tricky green complex. I ripped my driver straight down there, and then I had an approach shot in where I was advised to try and miss it left because of the way the green contoured. Let me tell you, I did not fail that task. I missed it left all right. I missed it long and left in a very, very tricky position. I then chipped one up onto the green. It just got on and stopped quite a bit short. And you guessed it, I missed the putt, another bogey. 15, we get into the closing stretch now, guys. The last of the par 5s, the famous one, up the hill, then down the hill, water in front, a treacherous hole. I hit a beautiful drive down there, but despite me having a chat with John, he would not approve me going for this one in 2. It was 245 yards down the hill with water in front and water behind. I decided to lay out with the 7-iron to give myself about 120 yards in, but I did play very aggressively to that back right pin. Up towards the right, wind was off the left, it just grabbed it and nudged it out towards the right hand side, just on the edge of the green. Had a pretty tricky chip away from me, the pin all running away. I got a fairly nice contact on it. It just rolled on that little bit too far. I left myself another one of those 5-6 foot par putts. Didn't make it, guys. I did not make it. Another bogey, and I've played the hole fairly well, not done anything too wrong. It'll get you this course. It'll get you, let me tell you. Could I make par on the closing stretch? 16, Redbud, that iconic hole where Tiger Woods hit probably the most famous and most impressive shot in golf to a back left pin, a whole green slopes away from you. He missed it there, had to play all the way up the hill to come back down. My goal was to aim to hit the right-hand side of the green and let it roll towards the flag. I had about 180 yards, 5-iron. I flushed it. Wind was off the right, so I couldn't get too aggressive with it. I flushed it, and it just didn't come back. It just didn't come back. It hit the green, landed up to the top of the hill, inches from landing and trickling down, which feeds it all the way next to the hole for an almost kick-in birdie. Instead, it stayed up there. And now I'm left with the most treacherous putt ever, where Tiger had to chip it from and then stop almost like on a fingernail to then roll down the hill. So now I've got this putt. I'm standing here, the hole's down there. John once again tells me to putt there. And who was I to not agree? I tapped the ball, barely breathed on it. It went round, comes all the way back round, past the hole, left me about 5 foot for a par, which I made. Finally, I made one of these par save putts. Got it in there, and a great par on the 16th hole, one of my favourite holes. I bought myself a new poster of that hole because I love it so much, and I made a nice par. The 17th, fairly straight away par 4. I hit a really good drive down the left-hand side, left myself around about 130 yards in to a back right pin. Now, this was one where I asked John for his input on as well. I've been asking his input on everything, really. But on this one particularly, like two, there was a bit of a miscommunication about yardages. I felt I should maybe lay back to the middle of the green. He said, no, you're better off being aggressive, just miss it left. I did. I hit the 9-iron. I hit it really aggressive. I missed left. Hit the top of the green, hit the back of the green, and rolled all the way down the hill behind the hole. And I had a really treacherous chip / putt. I did elect to putt it. I'm hitting back up a slope to the green. The pin's about here, and the green then runs all the way this way away from you. I got it on the green. It kept rolling, all the way back down to the front of the green, right at the bottom of that slope. And from there, I hit a really nice 2-putt, actually, but still a bogey. Another bogey on 17. So here we go. All of a sudden, I need a 5 or better on the most famous finishing hole in golf to break 90. One last chance for a birdie. Now was the time to step up. This tee shot petrified me. I hit a draw. This hole requires a fade. Huge bunkers on the left, trees on the right. We saw John Rahm, who, by the way, also doubled the first, so I'm in great company there. He hit the trees on the left here when he won the Masters that week. So I just gave it a rip, guys. I think I even said to the boys I was playing with, I'm just going to play this super aggressive. I'm going to aim at the tiniest little gap and try and draw it. I teed up right on the left-hand side of the tee, and I just sort of pushed my drive a little bit, to be honest. Didn't turn it over like I'd done all day into the right-hand trees. But I had a shot. I hit a punch 4-iron, had from about 170 yards, running up to the green, and it just stopped short of the green on that upslope. A really nice chip up, and all of a sudden, I had about a 15-foot putt to save par, or 2 putts from here, and I break 90, and I get some level of respectability from the round. I felt this putt broke from the right. I was convinced it broke from the right. It just looked to me, and I think I remember seeing on TV, it comes in from the right-hand side. John thought it was off the left. One of the other caddies thought it was off the left. Who am I to argue with them? I decided to meet him in the middle and aim straight at the hole. It didn't go in. That's all I'm going to say. It didn't go in, but I did tap in for that bogey. I broke 90! It was not the goal as a 3 handicapper. Very much so. I wanted to break 80, but it did not happen. So there you go, guys. I felt like I played fairly solid, and yet one of the highest scores of golf I've shot in absolutely years. But look at me. I do not care one single bit. I had the best round of my life in my mind. Some of those pars on those iconic holes will live with me forever. I was absolutely buzzing. Now, as I said earlier in the video, guys, I'm going to answer some of your questions for what exactly the experience is like. So let's dive into a few of those. Before we do get into the question and answers, guys, if you're new to the channel and you have enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, drop a like on it. Remember to comment what you think you would shoot around Augusta National. Carlos08 asks, favourite hole before you played it versus favourite hole after. Now, I'm probably going to go with my favourite hole before would probably be, I really like 2, but that bad memory from the club selection haunts me a little bit there. 12 and 13 were my other favourites. 12's no longer my favourite after that cold hard shank, let me tell you. I've got to go back and play it again. Please, Augusta, let me back to play it again. I'm going to go with 13 or 16 because I made 2 nice pars on those. 16 probably just because of the iconicness of it. I feel like so many of the big moments in the Masters winning tournaments happen on 16. It's a spot on the golf course I love going to watch from. It's a place I really recommend anyone that ever goes to the Masters. You pitch yourself up around the back of the 16th green. You can see the 15th green approach from there, the 16th tee and the 16th approach towards the end of the round. It's a beautiful, beautiful spot. Carlos also asks, did the greens roll pure or had they taken a beating? They'd taken a beating, all right. They'd had a whole week's worth of golf on it. They rolled as pure as anything you can ever imagine. They were like putting on this tabletop. They were immaculate, immaculate greens. It's just I did not feel comfortable on them. I think if I was to go back and play around again right now with the exact same level of ability and playing the same standard of golf, I think I would easily shoot 10 shots better. I'm just saying, that's just how I feel about it. I feel like the difference between a good score and a bad score is such a small line here that you have to know the golf course and you have to know those greens, and I did not. Was there any visible damage following the weather on Friday, Saturday? You know what, that's what we thought. I thought the greens would play a bit softer for us because of the rain on the Saturday, but they've got the sub-air systems there. Let me tell you, the greens were absolutely perfect and absolutely no visible damage of any of the issues. We had the tree situation, the place, the way they recover the golf course there from any inclement weather is truly incredible. Jimmy says, what was your experience at the clubhouse like? Well, I talked about that earlier in the video. After the round, we did get to go into the clubhouse for some more food. And let me tell you, that special pro shop that I mentioned to you, or the club shop, some of the items in there, you've seen the Masters logo. Some of these have the actual, just the Augusta National logo. These are the super exclusive items you can only get if you actually play the golf course or you're a member. And that place is incredible. Some of the stuff they have in there is just absolutely majestic. Wilson Kelly asks, what was the toughest hole? Well, I made, I think 3 double bogeys, I think that was. The toughest hole for me, I expected it to be one of the par 3s, but I didn't find them that bad. The 6th, I made that double on with 4 putts, but, you know, it's crazy. I mean, I had 34 putts for the round, which feels all right, considering I had a couple of 3 putts and that 4 putt. The most difficult hole, I think, 18, I think is pretty tough, to be honest, just because of the tee shot for me, the way it suits for me. 5 is very tough, and 7 was pretty tough. Just really demanding tee shots. They then require a second really good approach shot as well. There's some tough spots out there. Are the course undulations more severe than the cameras would suggest? Absolutely yes. Now, I knew this because I'd been there before, but actually walking in the middle of the holes, it's incredible. The biggest undulation is easily the 10th hole, where the difference from the tee to the green is like 100 foot plus elevation change, maybe several 100 feet plus. It is like a chasm down to that hole, but the most beautiful chasm on the planet. Smudger7 asked, did I lose any golf balls? Well, no, I did not. Believe it or not, shooting 89, I kept my same ball the entire way round, which is something I've got to take as a positive, right? Stuart Gould, 12, asked, how did you find the physical walk of the course? I found the walk of the course harder as a patron. Walking around it, following the golf, I found quite tiring. It's a very, very hilly, lots of stop starting, changing directions, and lots of heat. It does drain you. And I thought it would be even more so playing it, but it did not whatsoever. It must be the adrenaline of physically playing the golf course. I sailed around that golf course, but I can understand why it's a very difficult walk for people with injuries, such as Tiger. Cole Crawford asks, has the feeling sunk in if you play in Augusta yet? No, it hasn't. And you know what? There's a part of me that's absolutely gutted with my score. I'm going to be honest with you, absolutely gutted. Because I feel like I got really unlucky with some of those club selections and some of the stuff that happened on the greens. I feel like I didn't play to an 89. Although, part of me doesn't care, like, and I genuinely mean that. Like, I'm so buzzing. I'm so grateful that I got to play Augusta National. It's been a lifelong dream of mine, and no one can ever take that away from me now. I would love one day to be able to go back and play it again. I think I could shoot, I do think I could break 80 around there, or better. But, you know, getting to play consecutive rounds there is what you need. That is something that even fewer people get to do. This is a very interesting question. Charlie Blake asked, were the fairways sandy and were the greens grainy? No. Interestingly, I was expecting the fairway lies to be really sharp and really, what's the word I'm looking for? Really clean lies. They're obviously clean lies, but it's not a frightening lie whatsoever. It's nice and it's perfect around the greens. It's not like you got some really, really severe bare lie. That's what I thought it would be like. It wasn't at all. They were lovely surfaces to chip off. It's just that the pin locations and the green undulations make it so important to not only hit the exact distance with the exact height, but with the exact trajectory and contact, or else you just get made to look so silly so quickly. And there you go, guys. My most favourite round of golf ever. It's one of my worst scores ever, but absolutely delighted. So grateful for the opportunity to play. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, drop a like on it. If you are new, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you again very, very soon.